Hi, it's TK with the Weekly Words of Encouragement. Hannah's story offers us encouragement to trust God, His plan, His timing, and His purpose. We read her story in the book of 1 Samuel. Hannah was one of the wives of Elkanah. Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, had children, but Hannah did not. I've read Hannah's story several times, but I recently saw an interesting fact I've missed previously. Verse 5 of 1 Samuel chapter 1 tells us the Lord had given her no children. And in verse 6 we read, so Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. Hannah did not have children at that time because that was God's will for her and His plan for her life. That might be a hard pill to swallow for some of us. We may wonder why God kept her from having children, especially in a time and culture that saw women's value through the lens of childbearing. Without children, Hannah was seen as inferior or less than. We see this status reflected in Peninnah taunting her for not having children. But we have to remember that God's ways are nothing like our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So we can trust Him because He sees the bigger picture and we only see a snippet of His plans for our lives. Hannah's status as a childless woman impacted her greatly. Year after year, it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. The Bible doesn't tell us how many years Hannah endured Peninnah's taunting, but I imagine it was incredibly difficult for Hannah to stomach both ridicule from another woman who was also married to her husband and barrenness. Her husband attempted to console her, but I'm guessing his attempts failed based on his comments to her. Why are you crying, Hannah? Elkanah would ask. Why aren't you eating? Why be downhearted just because you have no children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons? Oh, Elkanah, you're not helping. Thanks for trying, though. Seriously, Hannah was discouraged, disappointed, depressed, and disheartened. And her identity as a woman and a wife likely suffered. But 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 9 through 18 describe how Hannah handled her discontent and dejection. She prayed. And this is how Hannah can be an example for us. When we're hopeless, sad, frustrated, angry, or any other of a myriad of emotions, we should pray. Our prayers can open the door for God to work a miracle in our lives as we express our trust in Him. These verses start with acknowledging how Hannah felt. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. I love that scriptures don't shy away from telling the truth about feelings. So whether we're sad or joyful, we can find examples of our emotions in God's Word. Anyway, Hannah prayed a specific and powerful prayer, and it was also a prayer of desperation. She so desperately desired a child that she was willing to give that child to God for His service. And she made this vow, O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut. As she was praying, the priest Eli thought Hannah was drunk because he could see her lips moving, but he could hear no sounds. Hannah told him the truth about her anguished prayers. Oh no, sir, she replied. I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I'm very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow. Then something amazing happened, something I hope we emulate in our daily lives. Eli spoke words of encouragement to Hannah, and his words changed her emotional state. In that case, Eli said, "Go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request you have asked of him." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed. Then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. Our encouraging words can change the trajectory of someone else's life. Being an encouragement to others is something I find incredibly valuable, and it's the main reason I create these video devotionals. Eli's encouragement gave Hannah courage to believe God would answer her prayers for a child. And so she let go of her bitterness, anguish, disappointment, and sadness. And guess what? When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, "I asked the Lord for him." God had kept Hannah from having children up to this point, but he had not forgotten about her. God's timing is always best. Hannah kept her vow to dedicate Samuel to God's service, and he, Samuel, played a major role in Israel's history as a judge, priest, and prophet. He anointed the first kings of Israel, Saul and David. Hannah sang a prayer of praise as she was leading Samuel to serve in the Lord's tabernacle. Her prayer is recorded in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. One part says, "No one is holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God." These words are a powerful acknowledgement of God as the one who answered Hannah's prayers. And after she dedicated Samuel to God, God blessed her to have 3 more sons and 2 daughters. Hannah's story reminds us to pray to God, especially when we're disappointed, discouraged, or depressed. When we face challenges, that's the time to fall on our knees and pour out our hearts to God. And when God answers our prayers, we can follow Hannah's example of singing prayers of praise to God. I pray you have a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.